Hey, I wanted to talk a little bit more about the American Redoubt project because it's something I'm becoming involved with more now. And that is it started out with John Wesley Rawles kind of naming it in survivalblog.com. And basically, a lot of the survivalist type people, I'm not going to necessarily, I don't know if I want to use the word preppers because there's a lot of history with survivalism that's not all negative. But, there's talk about really finding a region of the country to go to and consider a safe zone. The American Redoubt is not the Enclave project or the Autonomous Zone product. It's basically a gathering area in the country for people to have survival retreats. It's been picked out by a lot of experts on a lot of issues, John Wesley Rawles being one of them. He also consulted with a lot of other people. I would highly suggest reading his website, not through my video, but go to survivalblog.com, look it up, and see where he goes. Now, he does have a checklist and a punch list here of a lot of recommendations, which I think I don't fully agree with. Okay, but I agree with it mostly, but not fully. And a lot of this has to do with the economic sustainability when you get to places. And your own survival. Because I bailed out of California to one of the recommended areas in Oregon, and it turned out to be a bad experience because I followed several elements of this advice. In fact, given the dates on a website, I hate to say it, but I wrote some of that stuff. And John Wesley Rawles borrowed from other websites, other survival stuff. He came up with a lot of his own stuff, but we've been in the same forums for quite a long time. And I was wrong about some things, and I've learned about them afterwards, but it's still mostly right on all this stuff. So you can look at that stuff and watch this for the American Redoubt. One of the biggest mistakes that I made in my early publication was again, good experiences and bad experiences mix, about when it is time to relocate. And there's a lot of reasons to stay in the cities. There's a lot of reasons to stay in economically vibrant areas. And I don't want to dispute those. What I want to address is having a backup plan that is for real, okay? There is no possible way that on a bicycle or a backpack or even a family piling into the SUV, that you're really going to have sufficient supplies and sufficient resources to relocate in the event of a disaster or much of anything, unless you're relocating to an area that has a lot of infrastructure and a lot of social network already in place. Think about the times in your life where you or a family member have moved and relocated. Not only are you talking about loading up the U-Haul and the family vehicles and relocating to the new location and moving in, but you used a lot of infrastructure in that process. You used the roads. You stopped at restaurants. As soon as you got to the new location, you went to the grocery store. You used the grid electricity. You used the gasoline to relocate. When you relocate, most people who relocate for smart reasons are going to do that because there's already a job waiting for them. Usually because they've made some kind of arrangements for a house to be working there. A lot of people use online services now for real estate. There is now real estate online services, survivalrealty.com, they have that, but a lot of people just use conventional real estate services on that. So realize, and that's very stressful. Moving is stressful. Moving is something people really avoid. It's one of the reasons why California, which for a very long time has been a very beautiful, comfortable place for people to live, and it's been a desirable place for people to live, but it's also a hassle to move from California. And a lot of people have waited to bail out of California. They chose to wait until it was too late to salvage their personal wealth. I follow a website, a YouTube channel from a guy called Bug Out Vehicles. His name's Gary. He kind of gives some advice to other people. Southern California people, where they've run through a real estate cycle, which usually looks about like, you know, especially if they got hit here, but realize there were artificially inflated real estate prices in California for a lot of different reasons. But you know what? This kind of price increase on real estate is not sustainable. Okay, when somebody says the cost of a house, I look at, you know, okay, what's the blueprints for the house? How much does it cost to build? Not, okay, how desirable is a spot of land and how much can somebody squeeze out of you when you really don't want to move long distance? That's what I'm getting at. There were a lot of people who chose to stay in California when they knew wages were getting suppressed, when they knew things were going down. They had hope because they could see visible wealth down the street. There's other people who wanted to be a part of that. And it is not a matter of counting wealth. It was a matter of the convenience of going someplace versus buying, versus renting. That's what caused this stuff to happen. But I can tell you, this graph could even go back a little more. As I was there in the late 90s, I was there when I saw this, and I did the math. I knew people that made $100,000 a year just in home equity, and of course they threw that at the stock market, made even more money. And some of them got smart and bailed out and ran. And when you're looking at numbers like this and a little economic turn like this, you're looking at plenty of money to slide something out to the side to get involved with a survival retreat, even if you want to stay someplace where there's a lot of hot action in real estate or a lot of hot action in the stock market. But you know what? Stock market trading is not location specific anymore. You can do it online. What you can't necessarily do online in real time as efficiently is trade advice and information and kind of network with other people who are trading similar stocks. A lot of times it just has to be done at the coffee shop, the bar, you know, someplace where the decisions are being made. You got to have access to that to get better insight. And I'm not going to say insider information, but you're going to get better insight on what's going on with people who are closer to the action. That tends to happen in the big cities. New York, San Francisco, Dallas, Los Angeles, that's Chicago. That's where you're going to get the better insight on a lot of market information. But in California, when this stuff was going crazy, you know, a lot of people, and what Gary talks about on the survival or bug out vehicle thing, is the people who got hit somewhere in here. Okay, the 2006 to 2010 period, all this stuff is going on. Listen, folks, that's not the banks doing you wrong. Okay, that's just reality was coming into this situation. You can't have people in their early 20s who can't afford to live anywhere, yet the jobs are not offering what it takes to live there. I mean, it's not sustainable. It's not going to work. They have to go to fresh places. And you know what? This has happened worldwide for centuries. It's part of what populated America in the first place, especially with the huge influx of immigrants that came as soon as America had some infrastructure in place. In the late 1800s, immigration here exploded because the Europeans who you know, the European land was all bought up. It wasn't very free there. People knew that they could leave, they could go to America, they could choose not to conflict with the powers that be where they were, and they could just go to America and have freedom. Right now, we've got that problem in America, and we really can't go anywhere. We're not welcome in very many foreign countries where we could actually exercise some of the freedoms that we already have here. Even if we live under some levels of restricted freedom, a lot of that's not welcome. And freedom really is the commodity which drove California markets, I would say, up to this point. And then there was a lot of real estate speculation went over here. Now let's get back to the Redoubt. Okay, if somebody wants to know what's economically viable in here, anything that is not location specific. Now, James Wesley Rawles talks about a lot of people being at a subsistence level, and that's what I call it when you're actually worried about canning food or you know, shopping at a farmer's market instead of Walmart. you know, and the thing is of all those areas, only that little sliver of Oregon is the one with no sales tax. So it's, you know, it costs you money to shop in those places. So self-sufficiency works when it's economical. But if it's more economical to maintain your place in California or whatever, you know, put together a backup plan. Get involved with the retreat community. It's expensive. It's not just expensive to have the survival retreat lifestyle, but you also have to look out for the economic health of the full-time people that are there. And with a couple of places that I'm involved with, that's a major concern, is the people that are there full-time could be just as capable of having a very fulfilling life in a big city, engaged in a regular economy, but by choice they're living out in the backwoods. The thing is, you need capable full-time people out at the survival retreats who need to have a fulfilling enough life out there in order to not abandon the situation. If you don't have truly capable people, it just gets all fucked up, okay? They'll spend all their days drunk, not working, not getting stuff done. I'm going to go into more later as I answer this phone.